keep it together.
I
Gotta
will.
keep it tight.
Got
okay.
it. Yep.
All right. I am Lindsey Benton here with Christina Ray, Live Loft Denver Real Estate Group, and we are talking about the buy-sell conundrum.
Yes, we are. And I'm Christina Ray with Live Loft Denver Real Estate.
Yes, you are.
And I'm excited to talk about the buy-sell conundrum.
Yes, you are. I think one of the things that we talk a lot about at Live Laugh, Denver Real Estate Group, let's just say that again, is that we serve clients of all types and everywhere.
Yep.
Especially you. Yep. Everywhere.
Everywhere.
You really specialize in that buy-sell stack.
I do. I thrive on it.
You thrive on it, yes. And I felt like there was no one better to talk through it with than you. Both of us are, very tenured in our real estate experiences and serving our clients. And that helps you know really like where your secret sauce is. And yours is definitely in that buy-sell combo.
Well, there's a lot of complexities to buying and selling at the same time.
Yeah.
So
let's start with what's the best option. I think the question I get the most is, okay, I want a new home.
Yep.
I own mine now. What do I do?
Yeah, I think that's...
What do I do first? Tell me more. What do I do first? What's the best loan?
Well, first I say, let's sit down. Let me come over.
Yep.
Let's talk about this. So when you own a home and you want to buy a new home, I think the first question that I get asked is, can I even do this together?
Yeah. Can I do it at the same time?
Yeah. Can I make this happen so that I'm not moving twice? And the answer is yes. We do this all day, every day. Mm-hmm. It's not uncommon. So really, it's just coming up with a plan, a really good game plan, and figuring out, how we're going to make it happen so that it's not stressful for you and that we can marry everything so that it happens all at the same time.
Yep. Totally. So let's start with, in what cases would I need to sell first?
In what cases you would need to sell first?
So we always advise, like, talk to a lender.
Absolutely.
And then we can figure out what your options are, right?
Yeah. It also is going to depend largely on the market. Have you identified your next house? If you found this dream house that we have to act on quickly, that's a conversation where we do engage a lender and see, there's many options to where you can purchase first and then sell later. I did a couple of those last year, and it really is just all about options and then laying them out for you so that you can make the best decision. But a lot of sellers don't know what those options are. So it's my job to help educate them so that they can make the right decision.
Right. Because no two situations are the same. I think that's the conundrum of it all.
Yes.
I am going to use the word a lot. I just can't help it.
You love conundrum.
I only learned what it was at 22.
Okay.
So it was a wine.
We're just going to use it all the time.
Use it all day. So once you figure it out, like, what kind of questions are you asking people to help them know what their options are going to be or what their real motives are in all of it? Because I think that's a big thing too. You get a call and someone says, I want a new home.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. My question is why? Why are we moving? Is the family expanding? Is your job relocating? There's so many reasons that people are leaving their current home for a new home. Right. So it's really identifying what that is and what their goals are throughout the process. So I know it sounds, a little cliche, but it's all about just sitting down and having that conversation, having a professional that knows what they're doing, because it is very... There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts.
Yes. When you're buying a house, that's intense as it is.
Yep.
But when you're trying to sell and buy a house at the same time, you've just amplified it.
Yep.
And there's a lot of dominoes that you've added to the process.
The dominoes. We're going to talk about that for sure.
Domino effect. Yeah.
I think what's interesting is if you think about the buy process and the sell process both being, depending upon their markets, 30 days to 180 days. It could be 365 days, depending. And that's where we're really going hyper local and hyper specific on the market research, right?
Yes.
And they're coinciding. And I think that's one of the things we've talked about is like, this would be 45 days of you doing both of them. It could be that you do this one first, you do that one next. But ultimately, there's not a one size fits all, even to just purchase a home, let alone if you have both in there.
Absolutely.
What's the most amount of dominoes you've had in a transaction of like contingencies?
Sure. I think the most I've ever had was 4. So 4 different home sales that had to happen in order for my clients to
buy their new home.
Yeah.
Did you sleep during that time?
I don't think I did.
Yeah. So we tend to take that on.
We do.
So we'll talk about that at a different time.
But it closed.
And
so I think it can happen.
You mentioned something earlier about having a professional involved. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like when you're working with 4 dominoes, you obviously aren't doing every single buy sell in that transaction.
No.
So how are you working with our cooperating agents to ensure that all of the clients and all the transactions are happening the way they need to happen?
I think that's the part that you have to excel at, because there are so many moving pieces. I appreciate it when I have clients that completely, trust me. And so having referral partners like throughout the United States that I can say, okay, I've got someone out there that if you want to interview them and chat with them and see, and then I know that they're going to be in good hands, that's always my best, scenario. But communication is key. You have to have all agents on board, because I've had situations where sellers did find their dream home. It was a great home, and so it was one of those things where how do we make it happen so that they get it while we haven't even prepped their home to go on the market? It was just, this came up, I have to have it, let's make it happen. And so you really have to have a really good team in place, but the communication is key. You have to be communicating. The agents that were selling some of their properties in other states to also help them get this house were willing to reach out to the agent here, really just like giving that sense of like, we're all a team.
Yes.
We all have an invested interest in this, and we're going to work together to make it happen.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that I'm hearing, both directly as well as just seeing on the internet, is who would be selling right now? Let's say I'm in a home and I have a 3% interest rate, because we started talking about interest rates incessantly in 2019. And then even more. But let's say I have a 3% interest rate. Why would I sell and buy something different? We're seeing it all the time, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that I also sit on the market trends committee, and that's something that we're talking about a lot right now. Is it seems like we're having a lot more conversations with sellers than buyers. Now, that might not be the case across the board for all of the Denver Metro realtors, but a lot of us are seeing more seller conversations. The conversations that I'm having is more familial status changes.
Right. Kind of the D's, like divorce, diapers, death, diamonds.
Exactly. So that's
the 5th.
I think it's the 4.
Just the 4 Ds.
There's going to be times where you just have to move. And I think now sellers are more realistic, that they know that there's ways that we can combat the higher interest rates. And so the interest rates aren't the handcuff anymore.
No.
I think the golden handcuffs have come off finally, and I'm so here for it.
Yes. I feel like people are really making decisions with what they know now.
Yes.
Which has always been what we're trying to coach for our clients, is to make decisions based on what you know now.
Right.
But it's hard when the headlines are saying one thing or whatever, right?
Well, and here's the thing too, if you've been in your home and you have equity and you're ready for that next move, but you feel like you're tied to the interest rate is based off of what you're financing, so at the end of the day, if you have this equity, you may be financing a less amount. And if your interest rate is in the 6s, we can again combat that.
Yep.
There are things such as seller concessions and ways to get that interest rate lower. But
which again comes to that like custom journey.
Absolutely.
It's always helping clients ask the right questions. I feel like it's so funny, because a lot of times as real estate agents, we feel like we need to have all the answers.
Right.
And we just don't. There's no way to have all the answers.
No.
Because everyone's situation is different. And so it's really about like, how do we help them ask the right questions so that they can collect the information they need to feel empowered to make the decision.
And one thing that I appreciated that you taught me when I first started.
Let's talk about that.
Well, I would joke that I'm like the worst realtor in the world, because I'm like, do you have to sell your house?
Yep.
Because I love the idea of building generational wealth, and I have seen how amazing that is in real estate. So, one of the conversations that we also have is this something that you can hold on to? Is it an asset that you want to hold on to? Some of my other ones, my sales, they're moving out of state. They don't want to be a property management from across the country. Fair. But it's still a conversation. I always want to empower the seller and have all their information out. And then they can say, you know what, this is the best path for me.
Yes.
And that's always.
Does it pencil for me to keep it? Does it not? And then that way they don't have FOMO.
No.
Or in the future or whatever.
Never.
Regrets.
Absolutely not.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Hashtag.
Yeah.
Can we talk about one of the hardest situations I've seen you navigate and how you did it with perseverance?
Yes.
Your clients who were selling in the Highlands and moving to the coast.
Yes.
And the buyer walked
at the closing table.
Yeah. So let's talk about, can you give us like a summary of that and then how you were able to really salvage that?
Yeah. So the sellers decided it was time to retire. They did not want to be in Colorado anymore. They had bought e-bikes. They were going to e-bike everywhere on the coast, and that was their new life. So, we came up with a plan because I was like, well, I'm going to get you there. We're going to get you there so that you are e-biking to breakfast every day. You are, you're living your best life.
Yep.
You have views of the water. That's what they wanted. And so I was able to, one, connect them with an agent out in Oregon that was phenomenal. And at the end of the day was a saving grace because we did have that hiccup of a buyer walking at the closing table. Is that common? No. But in this situation, after meeting with the clients, the house we knew was going to be more geared to investors.
Right.
It needed the love, and it probably would not have gone, there wouldn't have been lending available for the condition of the home. So we knew it was going to be an investment.
It was just, it just was older.
Absolutely. Missing, a bathroom and so forth. So
exactly.
It wasn't there was not going to be a loan on it.
Correct.
We did have an investor, that, came in, had great terms. It was a quicker closing. I think it was like a 3-week closing, but at the table, investor decides to walk away after having kind of a tiff with the lender that was doing a hard money loan for this investor.
So it had nothing to do with the house. It had nothing to do with the sellers.
Correct.
It was just that they got to the closing table and the lender they were working with for this hard money loan.
Yep.
Which there were no loan conditions in the offer. It was supposed to be cash.
Yep. So the sellers, the good thing about it was because we negotiated favorable terms, they did retain the earnest money.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, my heart broke for them because they're on their way out to Oregon,
Literally, they were driving
there as this was happening. So really, it just fueled my fire more to be like, no, we are making this happen. They're getting their e-bikes and they're going to enjoy their time. They're going to enjoy their retirement. So we were able to get some backup investors that, through the grapevine and making the calls, found someone that was solid that could actually perform to the terms of the contract and get it done.
Yep.
Very quickly for them too. So, and throughout the whole process, because we had such an amazing referral partner in Oregon, they had found a home out there already. They kept it. And it was all thanks to her and my communication. But
right. Because their new home that was bikeable to all the places was contingent on this sale.
Correct. They needed that sale.
Right. But because the agent was good and in conversation with you throughout that.
Yeah.
And it's not common. And they do lose their earnest money, which is the deposit.
Sure.
And it's really shitty. It's a technical term.
Yeah.
To do. For them to do. But ultimately you made it happen.
Yes.
And I think the biggest thing I saw with that was, one, I was thankful you were part of the team. Because that day when that was going down, you needed someone to take on so much, right? As agents, so many amazing real estate agents take on all the stress of their clients
100%.
and as much as they possibly can. And it doesn't really take it away from the client, but we feel it. The best agents feel it in our bodies. And so when Christina got that news, I'm like, they were basically ghosting us.
Yeah.
Ghosting you.
The whole day.
Yep. October 27th. I feel like I can remember because we were at a meeting.
Yep.
But it's why we have each other too, to bounce things off of and be like, yeah, this isn't normal. What do I do? What do I ask? What do I do? You know, just to brainstorm with, because at that point you're so close to the client.
Right. Oh, I mean, I was dreading that phone call, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, the client they knew it was completely out of our control.
Yep.
You know, they knew
of course. Yep.
Everything, you know, they knew that it was an investor. They knew what was going on after I was able to get the full story, and they were very gracious. Finally. And but I think what made that whole, like, everything worth it was they sent me a video, and it was like just the cell phone going, and you could see all the ocean, and they're just sitting on their deck with their rocking chairs. And I was like, we made it. We did it. I just got goosebumps. Like, that's why we do what we do. You know,
it's totally why.
It is. Yeah. Last year there was some rough transactions.
You had some doozies.
Sure did.
You persevered through some greatness.
Yeah.
I know. Let's not go through all the bad ones. No. Do you want to, or you feel like we can?
No.
Okay.
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Let me look at my questions on my note cards, my Lindsey Benton note cards.
Yes.
What's the biggest misconception you find?
I think the biggest misconception is people are kind of shocked that they can do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're like, wait, what? I thought I had to put all my stuff in storage, and then I had to sell this house, and then I had to wait until it closed, and then I had to go start looking for a new house, all while keeping all my stuff in storage. And then I'm going to move again, and who am I going to stay with, and all those things. So when I say it's something we do all day, every day, you know, where I'm like, we can close in the morning on your sale and purchase in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Or they don't understand, oh, I can sell my house and still stay in my house.
Right.
Before moving, you know, like, there is a way so that you're not doing a double move. No one wants to do a double move.
No.
I think moving is one of the top 3 things I would not want to do.
Yeah, but you do move frequently.
I love the new house.
Right.
I don't love the process of moving.
Yeah, and we call that a occupational hazard.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Yeah, I think that misconception of, like, if you can do it at the same time, or people hearing, like, you have to buy first, you have to sell first, like, just the have-tos of it all. Yeah. Like, there's only one way to do it.
Right.
And there's just not. There's millions of ways. And the, you know, the solution finding is where, that's my fun of it. Like, that's why I have my roles.
Yes.
I'm like, ooh, call me with hard questions.
Yes.
Call me with, like, a big challenge. Like, let's figure, there's always a way. We always say when the seller wants to sell and the buyer wants to buy, we will find the way.
Well, and I think when I get those calls and someone goes, hey, I know we haven't talked in a little bit, but I just found my dream home. I'm like, okay, let's make it happen. And it's like, that is like, I'm getting my game face on. I'm like, if you tell me this is your dream home, we're going to make it happen.
Yeah. You, like, literally, like, will put up your hair.
Oh, I'm like, yeah.
She's, like, ready to go.
Like, and it's because there were times when the market was very demanding, you know, where houses were flying off the market in a weekend, and clients, you know, if they find something, it's like, well, how are we going to make this happen? Yeah. And there's a way.
So here we are. It's March is on Saturday. Today is February.
Yes.
It is still. What are our days on market? What were our days on market in January? Because those are the most recent data points we have, correct?
Most recent, yes. We're very close to February's, but we haven't finished
We haven't finished it yet.
February yet.
It's fast forwarding us.
I want to say average days were at like 39.
Yeah. So I think it was median at 39 and average at 45.
But what I tell clients is that's just, you know, that's like the 7 Denver metro counties. Like, we have to get so hyper focused on your neighborhood to understand where days on market are. I've seen neighborhoods that have no inventory and their houses are going under contract within a weekend. I've seen neighborhoods where it's taking 60, 90, you know, or longer days. Yep. So you have, it's very, very, very much neighborhood and house specific.
It's hyper local and house specific.
100%.
Because it's all about who's out there demanding it.
Absolutely.
And things that buyers would see as not an issue in 2021 and 22 and 22.
Yep.
2020. Every time it's like the 2020, 2021, 2022, those 3 years.
Yes.
It was like, not an issue. Take all of my money. I'm going to need to have a child because you said you needed a firstborn and I don't have any yet. So I'll have one of those real quick. Like, it was so intense.
It was intense.
And now those folks are selling. And that's leading to different conversations because they're not necessarily having the same
experience,
negotiating power or experience on the sell side.
Right.
Which has been interesting. And I think to your point, like, yes, it's hyper local by neighborhood, but I think it's important to acknowledge that the averages and the medians were even in the single digits for a while.
Yes, they would.
And one of the things that Logan Motoshami always says is like, anything in the teens is an irresponsibly low number of days.
Agreed.
It's not a healthy housing market because it's forcing people to make too fast of decisions.
Well, and I think that you would agree. I mean, there were times that
it was crazy.
What I tell clients now is we are in a sustainable market
Yes.
for both buyers and sellers.
Yes.
Sellers are still maximizing their proceeds by far,
Yeah.
but buyers can also be a little bit more discerning and take time to actually think about the purchase before just having to send in an offer. There were times in 2021 where I would literally pull over on the side of the road, connect to someone's Wi-Fi. Starbucks were great for that. You just pull in the parking lot and you can connect, but and have to write and submit an offer.
Because our contract software is too hard to use on our phones.
Yes.
Correct.
It was way too hard to use on our phones.
Got it. Yeah.
But
Yeah. So we have to get on our laptops in our cars.
Right.
On the console.
And that's what I would do. But it was funny because I had a listing consultation yesterday, and literally I remember showing a house probably a block over from this house. And my buyers really, really liked this house. And granted, this was in 2021. The house was listed at like $525. I'm like, that's great. You know, there's very high interest. We were one of the ones standing in line to get into the home.
Yep. Waiting your turn.
Yep. Because that's what we used to have to do.
The little puppy.
Yep. And, you know, they said, well, we want to make an offer on this house. And so the conversations at that point was really, what is the house worth to you?
Yes.
Here's where I think it's going to appraise.
Yes.
Here, if you're willing to offer anything different, here's what that means. And the seller of the house that I was doing the listing consultation, she's like, that house has been on the market many times and they haven't got anywhere close to what they purchased. And I was like, that's my worst nightmare, is that my buyers would have bought a house for way too much. And they said, well, what's the worst case scenario? That's what my buyer said to me. I said, the worst case scenario is something changes in 2 years. You no longer need this house and we're going to have to sell it for less than you paid for it.
Yep.
That's my worst nightmare.
Yes.
You know,
being the one who misguided it or
Right.
for sure, or allowed them to.
But there was a lot of that happening.
Yeah. I could not think of anything appropriate to say that allowed them to spend all their money.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, heavens.
No. Bless their heart for the ones that did. They weren't our
That's
clients.
the crazy thing.
They weren't our clients.
Is the amount of people whose houses were selling that we didn't help them buy.
Yes.
And during that time, it's really tricky.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit on you.
Sure.
Shocker. What would you say the three non-negotiables are when you're working with a seller and how they prep their home to sell?
3 non-negotiables. What I'm telling people right now is we can only make our first impression one time. And that is now more true than ever. And so there's no skipping corners. I think the biggest items that sellers can do to help impact their sale in a positive way is pre-pack. You know you're moving, so start packing. And then they say, well, what do I do with all these boxes? Put them in the garage.
Yep.
Everyone knows what a 2-car garage looks like. You know, stack them nicely. So put them in the garage, or if you have like an unfinished basement, start pre-packing.
Because the reminder is it doesn't have to look like no one lives there.
No.
It has to allow people to see themselves in it.
Envision. Yeah.
Yeah. So they know that you have other stuff than what's being shown. Yeah.
Right. I think that fresh paint and fresh carpet can go a very long way in their minimal investments.
Yes.
I don't want sellers to ever say, I think what I appreciate the most is when I go in for a seller consultation and they say, oh, well, I was going to do da-da-da-da-da-da. And I go, oh, actually, I think you should do da-da-da. And we're going to be perfect, you know, so I can minimize the amount that they're feeling like they have to do, because I don't want them to put in something that they're not going to reap the benefits of. Why that seems counterproductive.
Yep.
So fresh paint, fresh carpet.
The cost-effective improvements. So giving them that list.
100%. Pre-packing. And then, you know, with us, I mean, we're really providing a service that we want people to know, like, this home has to show perfectly. So a lot of times that is engaging stagers. People have beautiful things and beautiful furniture, but it may not be, you know, in the best, it's not laid out the right way for pictures and when people are going to, you know, actually tour the home. So just relying on professionals to help and engage who needs to be engaged to make the house shine.
Yeah.
And a good deep clean. Ceiling fans and grates with dust everywhere.
Oh,
I can't do it.
And she's upset.
And replace your light bulbs.
Now she's upset. And now we've upset her. And now we've upset her.
But I'm like,
but yes,
you know,
I agree. So the interesting thing about staging is, and when people are like, oh, like, it's not what you live in. Like, a staged house does not present the same as one you live in, period. It's not supposed to.
No.
And so when you walk in and it feels sterile, I mean, that's my favorite, is when people are like, oh, it feels so sterile in here. I'm like, yeah, because it's not your home anymore. It's a product that's being sold.
It is,
right?
exactly.
So you kind of depersonalize it a lot, right? But yeah, the deep clean, I feel like it goes without saying. It's so hard, right? Because our level of service and our level of listing is all to the next level. And so I forget even to say things like professional photography, videography, walk through, do the windows need clean for lighting, updating light bulbs. Like, yeah, we have the whole list of it all.
Right. That is just, I mean, I will never take for granted that we are dealing with, one, the most personal thing you can deal with for people. It's their home. And two, it is likely their biggest financial asset. And we need to treat it as such. You know, like it blows my mind when I see cell phone pictures. Their license should be taken away. It's just not okay. It is their biggest asset, and it is the most personal thing that they are going through. Yeah. And to not treat it as such, you're doing a huge disservice to them. Yeah.
So you covered first impressions, which is super important, and it's crazy. I mean, the first, think about it like a Tinder factor. Like, you got 1 second to get a swipe.
Yep.
Let's talk about the 3 non-negotiables for homeowners. And this one I'm throwing at you from nowhere.
Sure.
But I think one of the things we can run into, and this is with people selling or just people that we know, right, is what does the maintenance look like in a home?
Right. I mean, I've been in homes where I had a file folder and there was every servicing of the HVAC. There was every time the landscaper came, you know, it's like when you get a car and you're like, oh, I had my oil changed on you know, the receipts are there for every single thing.
But yes, I've seen it.
But it makes a big difference. So I think that the way that people maintain their home, those types of documents speak volumes to potential buyers. If they haven't serviced the HVAC, have that done, you know, so that it's just something that we've just had it recently done. You know, the other thing that homeowners have to consider is the timeliness of their listing. If we're listing in the dead of winter, we had some that were listing in winter. We did roof inspections in the summer. Yep. Because we knew there was going to be snow covering the rooftop and we didn't want that to be a delay in the sale. Totally. So you always are trying to think ahead of you're one step ahead of everything that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. We do photos in the summer if they want to list next year, just in case.
Yes. We want to have that beautiful, you know, everything grown in. It looks gorgeous. So we're always thinking one step ahead, if not 3 steps ahead, I would, to be honest.
Right. Well, and I think too, living in a home as if you may sell it someday, right? I mean, I think a lot of people don't want to have to move again. And so they're in their forever home. They don't want to, but you need to maintain it like you need to be able to put it on the market. And you mentioned the roof, you mentioned HVAC. The biggest thing I see, especially in Denver, is sewer line. And the sewer lines, when people are like, oh my God, it's clay. Like what? And I'm like, yeah. It's so cool. Like, when I think about the infrastructure of being able to like have a toilet, and like when that happened and then it all went out in one pipe to like one big pipe, like that's, but also it's clay, which is porous and which can expand. And so getting your sewer line cleaned once a year for $150, $200 can save you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, because maintaining that line allows it to continue to work. Yep. And I think that is one that I see people not doing. With the HVAC, you can subscribe to a service where they will nag you until they come back and clean it. They clean and service your HVAC because taking care of it is far cheaper than replacing. Right?
Yes.
And to your point about cleaning, right? The ceiling fans, like getting a deep clean done, or if you do it yourself, then I will get you a perfect merit badge for it. But having your home deep cleaned, like the dust can really create, especially in Colorado, we have so much dust. It can cause issues. So that's one thing we're always talking about with our clients too, right? Is like, as much as we wish that home ownership was a set it and forget it time of investment.
Yes.
It does require that you take care of it.
Well, and that's why we try to be as helpful as possible and send out those, reminders every quarter. Here's what you should be focusing on.
Yep.
When I got into real estate, people were like, and one of the plumbers was like, you should be cleaning your sewer line. I'm like, what? I haven't touched that in 5 years.
I mentioned clay pipes. Let's talk about new builds. Mm-hmm. Because I think that is something that people have been encouraged to skip before.
Absolutely not.
And you never know, because when the ground is resettling, it can
a quick offset.
Quick offset, and you got shit in your yard.
Yep.
Literally.
You don't want that.
Poop
in your yard.
Number 2. Number 2, in your yard.
In your yard.
There's no way to talk about it without saying shit, right?
No.
It would be hard. I'd be hard pressed.
No, it's true.
But yeah, sewer line, and then obviously electrical and plumbing. You don't want anything backing up. You don't want electrical, causing hazards. And I think that's kind of the long term that leads to it being easier to sell, to your point.
Yeah.
And I joked about not having the file, but I do keep all of the PDFs in a Google Drive.
Here's the thing.
So does that make me a good homeowner?
Yes, because when it's time to list, when I list your house.
Yes. Could you? I would not list it myself.
You're like, no.
I would never list it myself. It's so personal. I was like, no, personal. It's like I do not need to be judged.
So personal. But I tell clients this too, because they're like, well, should I put my office in this front room? I'm like, you should live in it however you want to live in it. When we sell it, we're not going to do that, but live in it how you want to live in the space. And when I'm doing walkthroughs too, and I'm telling people, clean these vents, I'm like, please know, if you were to come to my house, you would have to tell me the same thing. I am not perfect. And if I were listing, I would have to do all the things that you're doing as well.
Yes.
So we're just here. I don't even know if I were to add up the amount of houses that I've been in, if I could add up that total as of now.
No.
But I've seen a lot of houses.
A lot.
And so I know
you
what
mean
to
as
look
far as
for.
showing too?
Yeah.
Oh, girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
I don't know.
Thousands.
Absolutely.
At this point.
Yeah. And that's why I move so much. Because I just see stuff.
It is.
But I wanted to go back to something.
Yes.
So about the new builds, because I have had clients that I've helped them with a new build. And some, like my clients, understand why it's important to have an agent, but they've had horror stories of, well, my friend, they bought a new build and they just went through the builder. And I was like, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But you have to know new builds have their own nuances. And I love new builds as someone that has built new builds myself personally. And as someone
everywhere.
Has
done them all over.
Represented buyers with new builds. The thing with new builds is that, one, their contracts are incredibly builder protected, where the resale contract is very buyer protected. Mm-hmm. And two, the builder's representative, the agent that is there, they're working for the builder.
Literally salaried by.
Right. Mm-hmm. So their best interest is protecting the builder.
Yes. They're often salary plus commission.
Right.
They get paid commission. We just get compensated. We don't say commission.
Right. We get compensated. Because that's what we,
that's
builders.
How we get compensated.
They do. So builders will compensate us for representing a buyer, so I think that it's something, why wouldn't you have someone? Because the contract is, it's very.
Yes. Well, and this is, to the buyer comp side.
Yes.
So I think the big thing is most of the time with builders, I should say most of the time, but they always have to tell you the truth about it, is, are they an employee of the builder or are they a licensed agent acting on behalf of the builder? Like, what's their contract look like?
Right.
And then, typically they're paying some sort of compensation to a buyer agent representative.
Right.
And if they're not, you don't typically get the discount if you don't have an agent. So those additional proceeds go into the builder's pockets.
Right.
We are seeing, I don't know how many emails you're getting a day, but builders want to move inventory right now.
They do.
We are seeing a lot of incentives for buyers as well as buyer agents, which is interesting.
Yep.
As far as getting people into new builds, because a lot of times they have to clear one level of their portfolio before they can go on to build the next, right? And you do have a ton of experience with new builds.
Well, it just goes back to the whole inspection even, like,
Yeah.
I've had buyers that were like, well, why would we do an inspection? It's perfect. It's brand new. I'm like,
Or the city already approved everything.
they sure did, but the city does not always catch things.
They sure
and the
did.
city cannot
sure
see
don't.
what's underneath the soil, if the sewer line is in fact not settling. So I always talk to buyers about what that looks like when we do an inspection on a new build, because I advise not to do it right at the beginning. I think you need to live in the house, you need to use the house, and then you can have an inspection about, 8 to 9 months into the process. However, it has to be dependent on what your warranty
is.
But
one of our inspectors is now offering a pre-closing and then a circle back.
Nice. I like
which
that.
is ideal, I think.
That's nice.
Because a builder's never going to be as willing to do things once you've already paid for it.
No.
Right? So it's like you need both of them.
Right.
Okay. Oh, new builds.
I love new builds.
I know you do. Oh. So we have the for sale by owners. I always laugh because they're so fun.
The what?
They're so fun to negotiate against.
Yes. Oh,
they're always negotiating against themselves.
Yeah.
So, how do we even open this can of worms without just sounding like awful? But I think one of the big statistics I watch every year is that this year, in the report that the National Association of Realtors did, and we can share the data from it, 6% of homes last year were for sale by owner. Mm-hmm. So I think that when people think, oh, could I just sell my house on my own? It just goes up there, whatever. Yep. Yes, you absolutely can.
100%.
When we sell your house, it's a full-time job for them and for us, right? So like when we're in the selling position, we're helping full-time, and then it's a lot of prep work as well.
Yeah.
And then all of the contractors and all the things.
100%.
It's interesting to me because I think a lot of people talk about how I could do it myself, but then to see the number come in at 6% of all sellers last year were for sale by owner.
I think there's only one argument, period. And this is what I have said 1,000 times, and it may not be the best scenario, but if I had to have a major surgery, I would not try to do it myself.
Oh, I haven't heard the surgery one from you.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I don't go on enough seller consults. I don't know. People don't even bring it up to us.
And that's the thing.
That's the thing. We don't deal with people saying like, "Do you think I should just sell it on my own?" Because then they probably don't appreciate our profession in general. But
my dad likes to ruffle my feathers.
I bet he does.
So he's like, I'm just going to list it for sale by owner. And of course, he's totally kidding because
oh my God,
he's a smart man.
Him.
And I would disown
him
smart.
Yeah.
As my dad. But, he just to ruffle my feathers and try to get to stir something up with me. He'll be like, well, I'll just for sale by owner. And I'm like, oh.
Well, Fizbo.
Yeah. Didn't you say you needed a colonoscopy? Why don't you try that by yourself? I did. I said that to my dad. I was like, why don't you try that? And he's like, it's just.
And what did he say?
He said, no way, I'm not going to do that. But at the
Case in point.
It's just, if I had anything major, even my taxes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to do taxes. I'm not a tax professional.
No. I could clunk through them.
I can too, but I don't want to. I'd rather pay a professional.
And it's not going to be good. Yeah, totally.
Because one, she's going to get me, my accountant, she gets me more. I would probably have to pay in if I did my taxes, where I actually get money back when she does mine.
I bet you do, because you pay your quarterlies like a boss.
I do, but
because it's a business. She's running a business.
It's the same thing with the house, though. You want to put it on for sale by owner. There is so much that they don't know about the market.
I know.
And so
I know
they're tripping over
dollars to pick up dimes. We
dimes.
don't advise that.
We
do not work with people who prefer to trip over dollars to pick up dimes. Well, and I think the biggest thing, though, that I want to make sure is out there is you absolutely can.
Yes.
And if you really feel like that's the best step for you, like if that's the right route for you, like I wish you the absolute best on your journey.
100%.
And that's it.
And
that's all I have. And best of luck to you. And I wish you luck on your journey. It's going to be such a nice time for you.
Yeah.
And let's talk now about different levels of service.
Sure.
One of the things that you and I have talked about is that level of excellence. Mm-hmm. So really just the 6% doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But then there's, oh my gosh, the discount brokerages, the flat fee brokerages. there's just a whole different variety. And so I think instead of berating all those different kinds, right?
Sure.
And this is where we get into the like, do you go to a general practitioner for your cosmetic surgery, or do you go to
or Groupon?
Or do you go to
the
Groupon?
best deal?
Yeah. Do you want the best deal on your new boobs, or do you want to have them done by somebody who's done other new boobs?
Yeah.
We've always asked that question of ourselves.
A lot. Yeah.
Mostly. So the different levels, though, what does that? I think it's funny because we see these like lists and we have them.
Yeah.
This is what we include. This is what we include. This is what we include. This is what we do.
Right.
But ultimately, how does it feel to work with Christina Ray and Live Laugh Denver and our team, Team Ridge? Like, what's the feeling that we're striving to give our clients? How would you articulate it?
I think the feeling that I really genuinely think that our clients would say is, one, they feel heard, taken care of. They feel like their stress has been minimized. They feel a part of a family, like they just feel like we genuinely care. I mean, there's many of us agents that we control the number of clients we work with.
Yes.
And there was a quote that I heard last week that, I want to save buyers and sellers from a 3-star experience.
Yep.
They deserve a 5-star experience with this. And that's like my mission now.
Yes.
I want them to have that 5-star experience every single time. I never want them to go through the stress or the loss of money with a 3-star experience.
Yeah. Well, also you want someone who wants a 5-star experience.
Yes.
Right? I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Is that we are really well matched with people who value their own time and their own assets.
Right.
And a professional opinion on things, whether they're buying or selling.
Yeah. My last listing, she goes, here's the keys. I'm gone. I'm heading out of state. I know you're going to do everything you need to do. I ran everything by her and it turned out perfectly. I took off every piece of stress from her so that I'm the professional. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know how to prepare a house to get it on the market. And that was like one of the biggest compliments, her just saying, here's the keys. I know you've got this.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, let me take this and run.
Yep. I know you love nothing more.
I do.
And a nice to-do list, nice checklist to work through.
Yes.
You mentioned the taking of the keys. This is where I always forget what I was going to say. I had a really good point. It happens at least twice. This is only the first one, which is interesting.
We got to go for
I've
a
forgotten.
bit longer.
I know. I don't even know what minute we're at because we didn't start the timer. Nick.
You're at 50 minutes.
Oh.
We just keep
We
talking.
have so much to talk about.
I know.
55. Oh. What questions do we have while I think of what I was going to talk about? Oh. Yes.
Okay.
To our audience, ma'am?
Can you repeat the question too?
Yep.
Of course. So say I know I want to sell my house and buy a new one, but I haven't found that perfect house yet, but like I'm ready. I mean, there's probably a few ways to do it. Like, should I list first? Should I find a house first? Like, if I haven't
That's a
found
great
the house
question.
I love, like, just yet, what should I do?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
So the question is, if I haven't found the house I love, where I want to go, but I know that I want to sell, what should I do first?
Yeah. I think that
Would you flip a coin?
No.
Okay, just checking if
I
that
would
was
not
it.
flip a coin. So the first thing that I would do is I would want us to sit down and at least get a plan in place to prep the house for the market. That could even mean, again, all the way, as far as getting the professional photography done. So it's something where when we do identify the perfect house, we're ready to go. We're ready to market. If I do it simultaneously with buyers and I have a search set up that is matching their criteria, and I always call it market research. I'm like, let's just go tour some houses. Let's get inside of them, see how you feel. And if they're starting to see things that they really like, then at least we know we're on the right track. And then we also know that if they found one that they 100% love, I don't have to wait 2 weeks to get their house on the market. So I think that those are two really key points. I also think it's really important to communicate with the agent of the house that you find that you love, because sometimes agents don't love hearing that there's a contingency. They don't like the C word. But I've literally in multiple
not what
offer
I-
situations.
That's not what I thought the C word was.
Oh, it's or conundrum. Is that the other
conundrum.
one?
I thought it was conundrum. Yeah,
That's
the
what
whole
I
time.
thought.
Yeah,
Yep.
the whole time.
Contingency. They now.
No. Yep. Sorry.
I can't do.
Just
Yeah.
see you next Tuesday.
Yep,
Literally.
I
think you're
knew
gonna be
that
back
was where
next
Lindsey was
Tuesday.
going.
Yep.
So that's what's important. But you have to have the plan in place. And, if someone has identified maybe the house has a lot of work that needs to be done, so we know we have to work on things, but simultaneously be touring and find things, that excite you so that you have your why, you're seeing the houses and you're going, okay, this is why I'm doing all this work so that I can get to that.
One of the things that I hear a lot from our clients is that they felt like they knew what was happening.
Yes.
And that is so, like, that makes my heart so happy.
Right.
When it has feelings, because then that's what I felt like when I bought my first place. I felt like I was pencil whipping. I didn't really know what I was doing. Part of it's I was 22, but
Yeah.
But also, like, we want to make sure people feel educated and empowered. And those words have been a part of our mission since day one, even though they're like buzzwords now. But empowered in their process so that they can feel really confident in the decisions they're making as they go to buy and as they go to sell.
Yep.
I think that if someone came to me and said, I know I want to make a move, but I don't know where yet, it's when we like kind of go through their laundry list of options, right? And we help them understand, like, can you offer without contingency? If you do need a contingency, what's our backup plan? And it is a choose your own adventure with support,
100%.
with a tour guide.
Yeah.
So,
But at the end of the day, that's the great thing is that there are options. Everyone just doesn't know what they are until we talk about it.
totally. All right. Any other questions for our expert, Christina Ray?
What's the most important marketing part of selling or buying a home?
What is the most important marketing part of selling or buying a home? I have my answer.
Mailers, is it door to door?
No, this might be a cliche answer, but it's the communication.
Oh.
I know that seems funny.
No, I think it's good. That's a softer edge on it.
Yeah, because I just like think back so many times to like communication with agents and how things have gone south or how
my God,
things have transpired. And I think it's all about communication because if you have the right professional, they're going to market it perfectly. They know what they're supposed to do. We're going to get it out to the masses. We know how to prep it. We know how to market it. But I think the most important part of the whole process is the communication.
I mean, how many listings have we not been able to get calls back from the listing agent? Or if we are, it's like 12 hours later, or they're not following up. So I do agree with you that one-to-one communication, which came up, I feel like it's come up in like every listing you've had in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Is that one-to-one communication, both with consumers as well as agents.
Yeah.
For me, with a less, like, that is more of a like broad answer, but it's the right one. I get it.
Yeah.
I think even more so that good communication is important is bad communication will make it go stale.
It can.
It's big time.
Yeah.
And we are already with any kind of market fighting against things we cannot control.
Right.
And so if you can control the communication, you have to.
Yes.
And then I would say photos.
Yeah.
Because we're a visual, I want it now, society / human, like animals.
Yeah.
We are
Instinct.
as people. Yeah. We want to see it. We want to see it look good. And the photos are magical. I mean, it's so, we used to always call it like house porn. Like you get on and so don't we swipe on the whatever. But, but it's true. I mean, those beautiful photos. And it's funny because when you're in the industry, like I can scroll through them in all of like 6 seconds.
Oh yeah. I've known that.
And I know exactly what that house looks like. Yep. I know exactly what it looks like. I know exactly what marble that is. I know exactly, did you tell me that there was 2000s granite in there? I know exactly what that is. Like we know. But people who aren't looking all day, every day don't.
Right.
So
And photos
I would say photos because they then they're on the internet, but they're also in the print materials. And they tell the story of the home. And it's what people go back and look at too.
Yeah. Or
When people get under contract and they're so excited,
we send them the photos
We do.
to say, hold on to these. This is exciting.
Yeah, this is an exciting time.
Yeah. Send them to your friends and family if you want so that they can see them.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
I think that wraps us up.
Yes.
The buy-sell conundrum. So what I took from it
Yes.
is there is no one answer, but there's
Yes.
always options, right?
No to buy, sell are the same.
Yep. No two are the same.
Yep.
And then the third one is preparation and maintenance are important, right? When it comes to it.
Yeah.
So I would like for you to kind of repeat back those three to me so that we can clip it. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
So do you want to say them again? Preparation.
He'll make it work.
I know. That sounds really good.
The top three things that you said, Christina, was preparing the house.
Yes.
Right? And also maintaining it, which is super important.
Preparing and maintaining.
Just
yes.
remembering that you can do them simultaneously.
Yes.
And that it's not a one size fits all. There's a ton of different options.
Exactly.
Yep.
I couldn't have said it better.
I did.
Cut.
She said cut.
Is that what we do?
All right. I'm Lindsey Benton. This is Christina Ray, Live Laugh Denver Real Estate Group. And we just want to remind you, it may be a bit of a conundrum, but we can help you buy and sell simultaneously. We got you. There's so many options.
We are here always.
We'll help you understand. So tired.
I thought